I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
Good evening. My name is Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk is my husband. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith.
And he died like a man, but on the third day he rose unlike any mortal man.
Welcome into the WTN Year in Review special. My name is Chris Hand, joined by the one and only Dan Mandis. Matt Murphy is here as well. How you doing, guys?
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a year.
Looking forward to a new year, but 2025 has been spectacular for the most part. A lot of good.
It's been wild.
Some
It's been
bad.
fast.
Yeah.
So we're gonna run down the biggest events of the year. You guys cool with that?
I'm ready.
Best of times, worst of times. What
Yeah.
would you say? Best of times or worst of times?
2025 was not bad.
No, there's
Could have
some
been a
bad-
lot worse.
Bad things
I
happen.
got two words for you, Dan. Kamala Harris. Could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. Boy, you got that right.
Whew.
So
I keep having nightmares of Kamala Harris as president. If I was Candace Owens, it would be evidence. But but it's
Evidence to be
not-
presented next week.
Yeah.
We're really close.
We're super close.
We're super close. No, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of it, but I have to remind myself with everything that's going on that, and we deal with the minutia of the day-to-day. If you pull back to 100,000 feet, I mean, how blessed we are to have this president in this time. I mean, with all the little minuscule frustrations, little smaller frustrations, or even bigger frustrations that we might have, boy, it could be a lot worse in the grand scheme.
100%.
whenever people start dogging on Trump, one of the things that I always say is, but how bad could it have been? And it could have been a hell of a lot worse than it is now. And when you look at Biden and Harris for the 4 years we had it, that's just a reminder of how bad it was. And so I always tell people, think about Harris and Biden and how bad it could have been. It's not nearly as bad now under Trump. We have some work to do, obviously, clearly, but there's a lot of holes that they've been digging out of.
Yep.
Well, and I've heard Chris say it on his radio show on several occasions, but it is true. And I think some people think, oh, well, that's Chris Hand being a little hyperbolic, being a little, he's exaggerating when he says that were Kamala Harris president of the United States, he might have the FBI raiding his house. Well,
Yeah, it's
Tell
it's 100% true.
tell me if the FBI, if our surveillance agencies under Joe Biden were willing to surveil sitting United States senators without their knowledge or permission, you don't think they would come after what they consider to be the rabble-rouser class, which are talk radio hosts like ourselves?
Oh,
and come after
podcasters.
us and
Well,
podcasters?
They
and
went after Charlie Kirk and Turning Point.
Yeah.
And I was with Turning Point during the 2024 election, and we all knew that we were being surveilled to the point where I even said to my mother and father-in-law, I said, listen, if we lose the election and there's a no-knock raid at 3 a.m., I need you to understand I have not done anything illegal. I have not done anything wrong. I was like, just getting ahead of it just in case, because I wouldn't want them to freak out.
But throw the hard drives in the microwave or the toilet or the fireplace.
Well, I've learned that actually if you use a hammer, then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what Hillary did.
And clean them with a cloth or something? Like with
Something
a cloth?
like that,
With a
bleach.
cloth?
All right.
Yeah, for me, it's throw the gummies in the toilet.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to run down the biggest events of 2025. We'll do it month by month by month. I got a list. If I miss something on a list from a month, you guys jump in, you let me know, and I'll just kind of throw the darts at the board, and we'll start running through the year that was 2025. Sound good?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Beginning in January, I don't think there's a bigger event than Trump's second inauguration and then the executive orders that came rapid fire right after it. Your thoughts on the inauguration?
I mean, it was obviously a big moment for the United States of America. It was historic in that only the second time in history that you've had a president serve in non-consecutive terms. So in the history of the United States of America, it was a big moment, obviously. For people that believe in getting us back to where we need to be in terms of, I mean, immigration policy alone, the effort that he engaged in very, very early on to try to get us back to where we needed to be without any additional money from Congress, proving that the Joe Biden campaign line was just a lie.
The bipartisan border bill.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I mean, I need that to do anything about it, and Donald Trump just dispelled that right off the jump. Look, constitutionally, I'm not necessarily happy with the idea that this is the way we're doing things now with all of the executive orders, but I get it. I understand that you had to undo a lot of the damage that Biden did over the last 4 years, and then you want to further and get a jump start on the agenda. I thought it was great.
That's cathartic.
What was your favorite executive order?
The border. I mean, at the time.
16709. I made that up.
Oh, it sounded official.
I was going to say, damn.
official.
The border, for me, that was my favorite executive order. But it was cathartic because we spent 4 years with a feeble-minded, now we know, and we knew then, dementia-ridden president. And so Trump coming in.
And colon cancer-riddled president.
Yeah. And so Trump comes in, and he can speak. He's strong. He's authoritative. And doggone it, we are going to get this stuff done, and we are going to start right now. And so, to me, it was cathartic because of everything that we'd gone through the previous 4 years, and it was like one after the other after the other. Now, I hate to be a wet blanket, but we know that if the Democrats end up winning the White House at some point, they're going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, which is why I want to nuke the filibuster so we can get some of this codified.
Well, we got to codify it.
I got to tell you, though, but back in January 2025, was I the only one biting their nails, hoping that Trump would make it to the inauguration? I think when they moved it inside, because it was cold, a lot of us were talking about was that security threats. And then the executive orders that were signed in a stadium in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
Gangster.
We've
Elon
never seen
ginning
that.
up the crowd.
Yes.
We've never seen that kind of a celebration of something as, we're all in talk radio. We watch politics. And executive orders, by and large, they're a big deal to people like us. But when you've got a stadium full of people celebrating executive orders, that's not something that we've ever seen before. That goes back to my word cathartic, where people had just watched Biden sludge through 4 years of mediocrity. And then Trump comes in, and it's like 2 words, let's go.
Yep.
I think mine, going off the board, off of the immigration, I think immigration is clearly the number one.
That won the election.
But I loved the exec to eliminate the Department of Education. Presidents, at least conservative-minded presidents, have been claiming that they were willing to do that for a long time. And Donald Trump comes in and he does these things with fanfare, but he just does them.
Yep.
And then, you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to measure it and you have to shrink it down before you eliminate it. And Donald Trump says, why?
Why are we doing
it
this?
reminded me, eliminating the Department of Education reminded me in his first term of moving the embassy in Israel. It's like all these presidents that talked about it, but they talked about how complex it would be and how dangerous it would be and how intricately detailed the planning would have to be and expensive. And Donald Trump said, just do it. Just do it. And they did it and nothing.
But he said, we actually own a building right there. He's like, we don't even need to buy a new building or build a new building.
Just put a sign up.
There you go.
And we're done. So I love that. And I know that that's in progress, kind of drawing that back down. But I love that's real shrinking of the federal government, which I dig.
Fast forward to February of 2025. We were hit with a storyline that would dominate most of the year. If you recall, This is when Bindergate happened. It was the first whiff of Pam Bondi. She didn't get any approval from anybody in the administration, no Susie Wiles cosign. You had a group of social media influencers going to the White House, and then they were presented with Epstein binder phase 1.
Problem was there was nothing new in it. And it was one of those moments where it seems like, was that the first Pam Bondi fumble?
Yes.
Where it was like, red flags. And so for Pam Bondi, that, at least to me, was a red flag. And part of my commentary on the whole Epstein thing, whether we're talking about Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, is they made their living for years on Epstein, and if we were in charge and all of these things. And so suddenly they're in charge and they realize how difficult it is to, number one, get their hands on something new and get them released. And I think that they were talking big and I'm fans of all of them, and I have always been fans of all of them. But I think that they realize that it's a lot easier to talk, but then when you get put in positions of power, it's not as easy.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the binder deal. It was an unforced error. My question at the time was, wait a minute, so you want to release this information, and we didn't know that it was just old information that had been released in court cases prior to Donald Trump being inaugurated. You want to release this, but you're releasing it to a select few influencers. Why don't you just release it to America? America deserves to see these things. I don't understand why you're going through this dog and pony show. And then when it happened, I couldn't help but think this, and I remember it, when they walk out of the White House and they're holding up the binders and they're smiling.
There was foreign press there. There was a foreign delegation there that day. I think it was Keir Starmer was visiting.
And they're smiling and they're laughing and they have swag. They have been given swag. And I thought to myself, aren't we talking about underage girls getting raped?
Yeah.
Why are we smiling? Why are we laughing? Why are we giving out swag? This should not be a celebration moment. Then you add to the fact that there was no new information. There was never a phase 2. These folks were directed to go and, present this and make a big deal out of it as if this would close the book. And it really only blew up the situation further.
So, and I had some friends in the room, Savannah Hernandez, Jack Posobiec, they were there that day. They said they were brought in, because we've seen the change in the White House with bringing in the more of the online influencers, investigative journalists, the third party, not legacy media. So, we had a meeting with Rubio and with Vance and with RFK Jr. Bondi wasn't even on the schedule. So I remember asking my friend Savannah, I said, do you feel like this administration kind of used you as a pawn? She was like, oh, you're getting me in trouble. You're getting me. Because, yes, she felt like that. To the influencers that stood in front of the cameras, this is, behind the scenes, but they stood there for a while. They were waiting for the media to get there to catch up with what was going on. 3 to 5 minutes standing there, waving the binder, trying to get their attention. There were individuals that were absolutely capitalizing on that for a viral moment. The ones that you didn't see were much more where you're at. Like, hey, should we be dancing and smiling with this information that's been entrusted to us? And none of them, to your point, none of them had any opportunity to review it. So when they're standing there and they're smiling, they're holding the binders, nobody knew that
they think it's new information.
Yeah, nobody knew that there's no new information in there.
And that made everybody look bad. I thought it made...
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but to this moment, as we sit here and record our review, we've yet to get any additional information outside of, a few things that have come out in court cases,
new photos.
A few photos that have come out. But, I still to this moment ask why. I don't get it unless you are protecting individuals within these files. I don't think there's anything negative against Donald Trump in them, but I do believe that there's some negative stuff that very high and powerful people don't want the world to see.
Well, and everybody wants to know who, right? Everybody wants to know the names, and they're releasing everything but when we talk about new photos of Epstein Island and all that. So the new that we've seen have just been photographs, but there's no new information on what everybody wants to know, which is who are the names.
Yep.
And I'm on record as saying that I believe that if all of this information were dumped on this table here today, that we would be underwhelmed. That we have built this up into being something probably more than it is. I'm not suggesting that we should not, be concerned if any underage person is abused sexually or otherwise. I mean, obviously, if powerful people are hiding this, we want to know, regardless of the scope. But I think mentally we've built this scope up that's probably more than it actually is, but it does not answer the question why we haven't seen the information to begin with. And we're approaching, a date certain where they're supposed to dump all of it on the table.
Yep.
And I'm fearful that that's not going to happen on the day that it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's any day now,
It's
isn't
tomorrow.
it? Tomorrow.
As
Yeah,
we record
we're
this,
recording
it's
this on Friday the 18th, just for
No, today's the 17th.
Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
Thursday the 18th.
Thursday the 18th. Sorry, today's Thursday the 18th.
Yeah. So
It's my Friday.
So-
I'm off tomorrow.
But it remains to be seen whether or not that's going to be.
And to
Yeah.
your
Released.
point on who they're protecting, is it donors? Is it other politicians? Is it guys that maybe they just had an affair? And I'm not condoning that, but it's like that is a completely different situation than raping a 13-year-old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think
things
you're right.
These things are not the same, and that needs to be understood.
Right. In my mind, there is a big difference. Once again, we're not approving of any of it, but there's a big difference in a billionaire donor going to Epstein Island and doing the naughty with a 30-year-old who's
Yes.
willingly there, or a 25-year-old who's willingly there.
And then somebody going, it'd be a shame if your wife found out. I
Right.
need you to vote this way.
Right. Between that and the obvious worse example of doing it with someone that's there against their will or underage. I mean, those are two different things,
Virginia
but
G.
I agree
Frey.
with you 100% that if you were that guy, you still don't want that information coming out.
Absolutely.
And you've
not.
got millions and millions and millions of dollars to try to prevent it.
here's the other thing, real quick. Earlier this week, there were some photographs, again, that were released, and there's Donald Trump surrounded by a bevy of beauties, and the Democrats blurred out their faces, making it seem like he was surrounded by a bunch of 15-year-olds.
Underage.
And there were a bunch of, beauty pageant contestants that were well over 18, 19, 20, whatever it was. So the Democrats have no credibility in this at all. They know what they're doing. The implication was that Donald Trump was surrounded by a bunch of underage girls, and that's why they blurred out the faces.
Well, and as we saw later in the year, they ran away from it as soon as it was exposed that Stacey Plaskett is texting him during a congressional hearing.
Epstein, yeah.
To roast Trump. Hakeem Jeffries is soliciting for donations. I mean,
Democrats could give a crap
And-
what happened to these young girls. They don't want to do anything but try to hang Donald Trump. And they have been silent on this up until now. So they don't have any credibility. And the more that they try to utilize this story and falsify the information and politicize the information in the photographs, the less credibility they have.
Well, and the February incident points to the struggle that we sometimes go through, because I think the three of us in this room, and frankly, most conservative or libertarian commentators, are invested in the truth. And if the truth, somehow it makes the administration look a little bad, we're fine with that. We just want to get to the truth and we'll figure it all out. The left isn't interested in the truth. They're just interested in destroying Donald Trump. And so when we get something like this, we are truthful to our audience and we say, look, it's not a great look. I wish we'd have done it a different way. I wish we would have more information. We're going to be honest on our thoughts and feelings. The Democrats could give a rip. They just want to trash Trump as a result, and that was a good opportunity for them to do so.
so the Epstein story really kicked off in February of 2025, and then it went on to continue to dominate the entire year. But as we move toward March, another scandal broke that was pretty big, and maybe you guys recall this, Signalgate. Do you remember Signalgate?
Do I remember Signalgate? I should. I remember the phrase. Do you remember Signalgate?
What was it? Help me.
National Security Group chat involving top U.S. officials, VP J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth,
Jeez.
leaks details about imminent military operations, including tactics against the Houthis.
They're still using
Is that
they're
where
still
you're at?
using Signal. I mean, they're still using
Well,
it.
they
right?
used it. They used
used it
in
before. They
previous
used it, and they're using it
yeah,
now.
That was so. You know what I think? I think that there. You and I, and we are all. So you, we're all over the news. We couldn't remember what the hell it was.
Right.
So it's just there are stories that are like flashes. And there's all the outrage and the hyperbole, and oh my God, we've got to have hearings.
The walls are closing in.
I would put that on the list of the now we got them, right?
Yeah.
There is a laundry list of now we got them stories, and that's a now we got them.
They thought that, Hegseth was one of, maybe not but one of the most controversial cabinet picks.
He's a TV host.
Well, he's a drunk, a TV host. He cheated on his wife. All these different things, and so
all true, but whatever.
He steals money out of Salvation Army bins.
No, I mean, I think he was the pick, right? He was because they decided that they were going to try to get a pelt.
Yeah.
Right, and
I want my scalps.
Right, I mean, the media should not be invested in doing this type of thing, but it's obvious that they are.
Yeah,
and he was the selection.
Yeah,
I wish they'd picked Pam Bondi, but whatever. I mean, but they decided on Hegseth.
Yeah,
and they decided that this was the thing that was going to bring him down, and here he is.
And it didn't.
And it didn't.
The Office of the Inspector General said no classified information was leaked.
No, not to belabor the point, but we said it. They used it before. And they're still on it, apparently. And it was, a big nada burger.
My reaction to the entire thing was, do people in positions of authority at that high level of classification need to be real, real careful about how they talk about things amongst themselves? Yes. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
If Hegseth made a mistake, then let's repair the mistake. Let's not do that again. Let's move on.
Not everything has to be made, a huge, massive national case. But the Democrats, as you said, now we got them. It's like you've got all of these different instances of now we got them, and they never stop, and they never will stop.
April 2025, we started to see the immigration and deportations really pick up some steam. And along with that came leftist protesters all over the country. What do you think?
Protesting. So they're protesting the fact that we have a president, an administration, a federal government that wants to follow immigration law as written by the elected officials that go to the halls of Congress to write and pass legislation as signed by the president. That's interesting. These are the same people that say that they believe in the Constitution, right?
The only thing you left out is that while they protest, they wave the flag from their country of origin.
And throwing bricks and rocks at ICE agents and all of that. I've always thought it was interesting where these protesters, they'll protest the people who are being deported, right? But they won't protest the people who were not deported, like the guy that killed Laken Riley, for example. So they are way invested in keeping bad people here, and I've never seen that before until the last 5 years, I guess. But you're standing for the drug dealers, the murderers, the rapists, and
the pedos.
The pedos, and the stories are all there. The stories are out there, and you don't even have to look that hard. It's like a 3-second Google search.
Oh, and they're horrific. It's like, the Alabama man. It was an Alabama man.
Yeah.
Maryland man.
It was a man in
man.
Alabama, but it rapes a handicapped teen. It's like, oh.
Right.
And
It's gotten so bad that I don't know if you guys do this, but a red flag goes off for me if they don't identify. If they're vague, you watch.
I mean, but this has been years. It's Coulter's law. Ann Coulter.
Right.
She said, if the longer they go without mentioning the race, the more
Then we
you can
know.
be certain that it wasn't a white person.
It's a protected class of people.
Yep.
Right. It was April that I developed kind of my litmus test and my basic 2 questions. The basic 2 questions are, for liberals with regard to immigration, is that should there be rules? Like in any nation, should there be rules as to how you get here? I'm not asking you what those rules should be. I'm just saying, should there be rules at all? And obviously, the sane answer is yes. You have to answer yes. If you answer no, then you're an insane person, and I don't need to talk to you anymore. So if there should be rules, we don't have to talk about what those rules should be. We can do that later. then tell me, what do you do with the people who break them?
It's
Because
very simple.
if your it's very simple. If your answer is we do nothing to the people who break them, then the rules mean nothing, and you need to go back to question number one, right? It's just that simple. Liberals have gotten to the point where they want to protect those who have chosen to break the rules as opposed to applying the rule to everyone.
Yep. But it was April when they started realizing that this wasn't just another talking point, that Trump and his immigration department were serious about getting these losers out.
I kind of love that, though. As much as we know what we're dealing with Donald Trump, the leftist mainstream media continues to be shocked and amazed when he says he's going to do something, and then he does it. It's like, oh, he did it. Yeah, he kind of told you during the campaign that that's what he was going to do.
And I think on that front, that is one of the most important things that he has accomplished. I mean, he fell short of his deportation goals, but he's gotten a lot of bad guys out. And the reason why he fell short of the deportation goals is that the Democrats have tried to block him at every turn. But we've also had a lot of self-deportations, and that is huge as well. So, I mean, what would you give, I'm going to ask you both, what would you give Trump on deportation? A, B, C, or D? What would you give him?
A.
I'd give him an A. What about you,
I think
Chris?
it's a huge ship, and he's turned it around quickly. I give him an A. On deportation specifically. I have another aspect.
Yeah, deportation.
I give him a C plus.
Okay. Why?
I think it's a passing grade. I think they're working in the right direction. But when we have 20 million invaders in 4 years, 2 million is not going to get the job done. I think it was ingenious the way he did the self-deportations. We got $1.5 million out via self-deportations. It's cheaper. It's cost-effective. All that.
$1,000.
Yeah, $1,000. Like
2,000.
Was it two?
It's
I
think it's
some amount of
It's
money.
1,000.
Yeah.
Is it just 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was Googling it last night. It's cost effective. I think that's brilliant. 600,000 by force. I was hoping to see more.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see more.
I think that they were not expecting as many legal challenges or activist judges as they have had to encounter.
But that kind of goes back to why I would give them a C plus, because A, you should have predicted that. They should have been knowing that the legal challenges were going to come. And B, if we don't go as hard as humanly possible, you give the left time to regroup and re-strategize. We should have seen, like, for every Hannah Dugan that got arrested, it's probably 15 more that we could have grabbed. For every LaMonica McIver who was at an ICE facility elbowing ICE agents, there's probably 10 more we could have grabbed. And
Afton Bain.
we should, exactly. Afton Bain, locally here, say we're harassing ICE agents. I'm slowing them down. It's like, okay, that's obstruction. You were impeding. You need to be held accountable for that. So the kid gloves on the Mayor Brandon Johnsons and J.B. Pritzkers and Karen Bass, that absolutely drops the average.
See,
And
the reason Chris gives them a C minus is the same reason I give them an A, because I fear the whiplash effect. Because I do think that liberals are using every constitutional measure at their fingertips to try to stymie the administration. And I think we've tried to navigate that as best you can. What I don't want the Trump administration to do is act extracurricular to the Constitution, right? So you can't just ignore a court challenge when a court challenge comes. You got to deal with it, right? And understanding that fight and that pushback, and there are people that are using our Constitution against us, that's why I kind of give them a little bit of power. I know exactly what you're saying is that you push hard and as hard as you can. I also think that there is a danger of losing the public if you arrest too many political figures. And so I agree with the idea of erring on the side of discretion there. Like the Afton Bain, I completely understand why people wanted her arrested. I completely understand why they didn't. Because if you arrest too many of them, you're going to lose the public.
But my issue is, like, we just saw Trump's first term where he erred on the side of caution. He doesn't go after a Hillary Clinton. He doesn't do the things that he legally could have. And then we saw the aftermath of it. And the aftermath of it is a president who is how many charges did they bring up against him? He almost gets thrown in jail. They're willing to do it to us. So I just, like, where's the cold feet coming from? It infuriates me.
Well, it's a question that has dominated 2025 for the three of us. And I think it dominates the conversation in political circles in America, is that they are willing to do these low-down, dirty things this is the arena that they're playing in. How much are we willing to do that? And at what point do we become them, right? And it's that balance. I don't want to be them.
But I think the fact that our goals and what we want to achieve is noble and good for the country justify the means. So if that means arresting Democrats, and I'm fine with it because I think that they're evil. I think what they're doing is evil, and I think that we need to fight as hard as we can. I think that you look soft.
And I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm saying that they say the same thing. They say we have to arrest Donald Trump because he's evil, right? So they're but it is a balance. But I completely understand what you're saying.
I think part of the problem is that Tom Homan came out and he literally said, if you obstruct and you're a state official or a local official, you will be arrested.
I can't believe there's any elected official, and especially a judge, that doesn't believe we should be doing that, and they should be helping us. What I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, I've said this 1,000 times, when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted.
He said that multiple times. So then, weeks or months later, Afton Bain here in Nashville does the stuff that she did. She absolutely could have been arrested. She wasn't. So if they weren't willing to go to the end game and start arresting people, they never should have set that expectation.
100%.
And what I was told was that she wasn't arrested because she wasn't really harassing them. She was just spouting off on
talking shit on the gram.
She was just talking crap on the gram.
She literally said she was bullying.
Right. But I mean, I can go on Instagram and say I'm bullying anybody I want to.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, we didn't see her. And,
okay.
But I mean, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I would have used it as evidence anyway.
Me too.
Fast forward to May of 2025. This gripped a local community in Middle Tennessee.
Mm.
It was all the talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went nationwide viral. Of course, I'm talking about the zebra escape in Murfreesboro.
The zebra escape. That was so fun.
Ed the zebra.
I'd be on in the morning. What was his name?
Ed.
I would be on in the morning, and I would get pummeled with people saying, we saw Ed,
zebra
we saw
sightings.
Ed.
Zebragate.
We all got zebra sightings,
So,
didn't we?
Yeah.
I got a lot of hate mail because there's a rule in Tennessee that if you hit something while you're driving, that's yours. So I was like, listen.
I'm talking to you bicyclists.
If I see that zebra, I'm hitting them and I'm mounting them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's as soon as my car collides with the zebra, that's my zebra.
No.
So you got guys in pickup trucks trying to hit poor Ed.
I wonder what zebra meat tastes like.
I've heard it's awful.
Yeah, kind of like horse, probably. Yep. Yeah, I would feel like it would be like horse. No, Chris, you can't take the zebra home with you. Although seeing a zebra strapped on the top of your Tesla would be pretty funny.
It was a pet zebra purchased by Taylor and Laura Ford in Christiana in Rutherford County. They had only had the zebra for like a couple days before it got out. I guess zebras are like a wild kind of animal to tame.
Well, and did they not? They eventually gave the zebra. They found it and they gave it to some place in Texas.
They gave it
that
to
was
some
better
place
prepared to handle zebra contain. Apparently, these people didn't recognize that wild animals like zebras. They don't really recognize, boundary lines or fences, and they're going to do their best to leave wherever you have them.
I think he was on the run longer than the escaped inmates from New Orleans in 2025.
The best sight was that zebra being towed by the helicopter.
Oh, yeah, lifted by the copter.
Oh, my God, that was so funny. After all of that buildup, and everybody was pulling for the zebra.
Yeah, we wanted the zebra I wanted the zebra to remain free zebra.
Yeah.
I wanted the zebra to win as well.
Yeah, and when people put Freebird with a video of the zebra being towed by the helicopter, oh, that was so funny. I love that storyline.
I just loved it in my head when I saw it flying away. I just pictured George Bush going, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him."
It's got to be
mission accomplished.
If you think about it, it's got to be a bitch to hide if you're a zebra.
Oh, yeah.
Hide out. I mean, you know what I mean? It would be like those inmates, but they have to keep wearing their uniform, their inmate outfit with their number on it all of their lives, and you got to hide out. That's going to be tough.
Well, if you're watching this before Christmas, there is an Ed the Zebra book available. Somebody
Really?
took the
Written by
opportunity.
Chris Hand.
No,
I would love to know where the proceeds go.
I wish I had that kind of creative foresight to.
It's pretty good.
That
put
is pretty
together.
good.
Yep, Ed's wild adventure. Yeah. All right. Shout out to Ed. He's probably dead. You think Ed's still
R.I.P.
alive?
Ed. If you're dead.
R.I.P.
If you're not,
Ed.
long live Ed.
At the end of the episode, there may be a
In memoriam.
and it'll just be just a zebra. It'll just be a zebra.
I wanted Ed to hook up with a female zebra, and so we'd have a whole bunch of zebras all across Middle Tennessee.
Do you think zebras have the ability to recognize how good they've got it in the United States of America? I mean, come on.
No, zebras. This is the issue. They come here and they want to bring the Sahara here.
They want to bring all their Sahara crap, all
You
their
know what I mean?
zebra crap, and they don't recognize. There are no lions around here, bud.
No.
You got it good here. Don't bring that Serengeti nonsense around here. We don't want to see it.
It's honestly
And the last thing we need is that giraffe trash.
No.
Ugh.
peeking in your upstairs windows.
They'll bring them, though.
Yeah,
That's the next.
It starts with the zebra. It ends with the giraffes. Don't even get me started on hyenas.
What else we got?
June of 2025. We're only halfway through,
He's got
boys.
the
You ready?
list.
You ready?
Yeah.
I got a list.
June.
Oh, yeah. The zebras are at the top of the list. June 2025. Israel and Iran really starts to heat up.
Yeah.
Significant military escalations when Israel launched airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. The United States got involved towards the end of June as well. Your thoughts? This was a heated debate at the time. I looked at it as just another. Originally, I was like, "This is going to be another Middle Eastern quagmire," and I wanted nothing to do with it.
That was a tough one because I'm not a big fan of like regime change and all that stuff, but it seems like Iran taking out their ability to launch the missiles and a very surgical strike and a militarily brilliant strike at that. Personally, I thought that he handled it well, took him out militarily, also coupled that with sanctions and really enforcing the sanctions against Iran.
And
I thought he did that well.
And those are the sanctions that the Biden administration removed, which allowed them to build up the funds for those terror attacks.
Yep.
And we saw the aftermath.
Well,
of that.
these were sanctions, and correct me if I'm wrong, but sanctions that Trump implemented, Biden ignored, never really took them off the table, and then Trump came back in and reinforced the sanctions, but not before the Iranians sold all of that oil, black market, not to mention all the cash that they were getting, and that's how they ultimately ended up paying Hamas to
Well, and
attack
there's
Israel.
this constant specter with Iran of how far along are they on their nuclear program, and can they hold that over the world's head as a balance against the crap that they're doing through Hamas, through Hezbollah and whatnot. And the fear at the time, at least for me, and I think for many of us, was, boy, you do this, and now you break it, you buy it, you got to send troops over there, and suddenly we're in the midst of this quag that we just saw ourselves extricate ourselves out of in Afghanistan disastrously during Joe Biden, but we had just gotten out of that thing. We're no longer in Iraq, and now here we go again. And it felt like a here we go again moment.
Yep.
And this is when we learned that the Trump doctrine is a little bit different than anything we've ever seen, and that is I've got no interest in being over there long term. I got no interest in spilling American blood over there, but there's some crap that the United States of America is not going to put up with. And we're tired of putting up with the Iranians acting like bullies in that region. And so you pop them, you get out, and you're done.
I love it.
And whatever Israel has to do is on Israel and not on the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see that as a third option.
Right.
You know, it seemed at the precipice of it that it was either we're going all in and we're removing the Ayatollah, we're going full regime change, war for Israel is what the conversation was online, and I didn't want that. I was like, no, I remember saying on the air, no Iranian ever called me a bigot, and it's like a little play on the Muhammad Ali line, but the way Trump did it, in and out, did not see that as an option. I was like, this is exactly why I voted for
And
him.
also remember that when he did it, there was the usual freakouts from people on the left. Oh, this is going to be the lead up to it. And also post, there was, he's gotten us into World War III. But the way that they executed that military strike, it was we're going to decapitate him and then we're gone. And it was like for a week or two, you kept thinking, okay, something else is going to happen, and nothing else happened because he decapitated them militarily, at least as far as the missiles go.
Right. And how important is Iran to other nations like China? That was the question, is that, whether or not China, if we got ourselves involved in some sort of more lengthy or long-form deal, would it escalate into, a world war? And that was the concern. Plus, I don't see the need for the United States, unless you present to me a real and compelling need that the United States of America needs to step in and help our friends. Israel's our friend, right? But we don't need to help our friend at every second. We don't need to send them money and military armaments. We just need to have their back. And there was a moment, and I kind of liked it, where Israel's doing their thing, for right or wrong, and there's criticisms or whatever. But Israel's doing their thing, and Israel needed a little support from a friend. And Trump felt like he could do this, support our friend in the region, stabilize the region, eliminate the threat, and then get the hell out of there. And I thought it was executed excellently.
It was unbelievable. Huge story. And then we fast forward to July of 2025, where we were back on the culture war front, this time because of Sydney Sweeney's Good Jeans ad.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Can we not have fun anymore? I mean, liberals used to claim that they had senses of humor. They don't have senses of humor anymore.
Oh, remember
it's
when
hilarious.
Republicans were supposed to be the ones that were uptight and we had to stick up our ass. And now it's just like it's completely changed. The Democrats and the progressives, they have no sense of humor. They have no creativity. They have no imagination. And I thought the Sydney Sweeney thing, I thought it was brilliant. But I think it really was such a culture shock from, oh, my God, you mean we are okay now as a society to have a beautiful blonde bombshell again, as opposed to, all of this stuff that we've seen in the past where you have these, obese people and
so white people in TV ads again?
Yeah, I mean, you got the trans people.
Well, who doesn't think that Sydney Sweeney has good genes?
Well,
like GENES, genes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, clearly the woman won the genetic lottery.
Yeah.
I mean,
I took a lot of flack on this.
Not a fan?
I don't think she's that attractive.
Are we going to go through this again?
All right,
we did this on one of the early podcast episodes.
I watched this podcast.
I just don't.
Firmly in the Mandis camp. But here's what.
Firmly in the Mandis camp.
Here's what does it for me. And so if you look at Sydney Sweeney, her eyes, the coloring of her eyes, and they look a little bit crossed. And so she reminds me of a little bit of a Siamese cat, facially. And I think Siamese cats are crazy. Just walk with me.
I think Siamese cats are great.
I think Siamese cats are crazy.
There it is.
Crazy.
There's the
Well,
quote.
I think
crazy.
Siamese cats are crazy. Ergo, in my man brain, Sydney Sweeney's a hellcat in bed, which is where I go on that. That's where I'm at. Thank you. This is all anecdotal. I have no empirical evidence to back any of this up.
So here's where I go with Sydney Sweeney is, again, just separating the culture shock. But since you've gone down that road, there was a video of Sydney Sweeney firing a gun at a gun range. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're combining the Second Amendment with good genes and
I mean, come on. And then denim?
then you got the denim.
What's not to love?
That's exactly right. Well, it's a lot better than what the Democrats have been putting forward for years, which is it's not socially acceptable to have a good gened blonde bombshell. Your beautiful woman has to be some trans dude, some guy in drag, right?
The cutest
Or
little
some
Adam's apple.
400-pound
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
telling me that they're healthy when I know that you're not.
Bullshit.
Well, and we saw that so much. Like, I remember during COVID, they'd have all like the ministers of health, and it's like, you're 300 pounds. Like, why am I listening to you? But it's also like, it's funny because everything is viewed through a white supremacy lens by the left. Whereas, like, if you looked at a beautiful Middle Eastern girl, like a Syrian girl who's just put together, you'd be like, wow, she has great genes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a white thing. It's
you're absolutely right. Anybody who is good looking is going to have good genes. Get over it.
Well, and it also doesn't exclusively have to do with looks. It can have to do with talent, right?
Yeah, brains, intellect.
It can certainly have to do with much more than just the look of a person. I will finish off the conversation, at least my part of it, by saying I have a saying on the radio show that I try not to make a matter of taste a matter of fact. And so much like food, I will say Chris is entitled to be wrong on this issue of Sydney Sweeney and her looks.
Well, let us know in the comments whether you agree with me or you're wrong. That's fine.
You know what? It's funny. I always say to Chris, it seems like I say it a lot. You could be wrong.
That's all right.
That's it.
That's all right.
You could be wrong.
Yeah.
August 2025.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Beautiful time in Washington, D.C., except you can't really enjoy it because of all the crime. President Trump is like, what the heck is going on? This is the welcome mat of America, and we have crime and drug abuse and the homeless. Enough is enough. So he deploys the National Guard to D.C. Meltdowns ensue.
So I loved what he did. I had no problem with what he did. And I love the fact that, again, this is one of those moments where everybody on the left and in the mainstream media melts down. And then here we are 3-4 months later, whatever it's been. And Washington, D.C., just like in Memphis, the crime rate has gone down. And so you have people that actually live in Washington, D.C., who are loving the fact that they can actually go out on a Saturday night and they can enjoy Washington, D.C. without, fear or less of a fear of being shot by a drive-by. So,
and much like in so many other instances, especially during Donald Trump's first term, when Trump does something and he predicts, how the outcomes will be, and he tells you what seems to be fairly outlandish statements, such as, they're lying about the statistics in Washington, D.C. They're lying to you. And you don't find out until months later that he was absolutely right. Yeah. And now, just weeks ago, we discovered that they were lying about the statistics in an intentional attempt to downplay some of the crime problems that existed there. But you can't lie to people who see it and exist in it every day.
And here's the thing, is that at the time, I don't know, I think we all said it, where when early on, we had the report that they were lying about the crime statistics. The media didn't want to cover it, and the media just called that fake news. Now, here we are again a couple weeks ago where we find out, officially, they were lying about the crime stats.
The police chief was like bullying officers to downplay reports and not put it all in the system. And, they were.
Well, and they were quickly dispelled by constitutional scholars and others that, some would say, well, he doesn't have the constitutional authority. He clearly had the constitutional authority to do this, right? I mean, the President of the United States controls Washington, D.C., and the local authorities serve at the pleasure of the federal government. It's called the District of Columbia for a reason. They then immediately extrapolated that he was going to Los Angeles and he was going to Chicago and some of these other states where the state governors weren't, with him on the effort to reduce crime. Now, they should be. I don't understand if you're the governor of Illinois, except for politics, why you would not welcome.
Okay. So I've talked to Chicago police officers and the like, and they say they'll tell you the reason why. J.B. Pritzker doesn't want help with crime because he gets federal money to help assist with crime. So you get millions upon millions of dollars a year. It's the same reason why they don't want to fix the homelessness crisis. Because it's become a money-making operation. So they're counting on these grants to come in, and the grants are going to dry up if the crime dries up. So the crime is a revenue opportunity for the state and the cities.
That is crazy.
Well, but you talk about Memphis, Dan, and I've talked to local officials over there, state senators and state representatives, Republicans who live on the outskirts, and they're like, this is working. There's no question that it's working. The presence of these individuals, they're finding missing children. We talked about that 300,000 missing children figure a lot.
Yeah.
Well, they're literally finding them in Memphis, Tennessee by the hundreds.
Well, and it's crazy because they'll label us racist for doing this, right? And then I saw a video, and I'm sure you guys saw it too, out of Memphis. And it's like this maybe 8, 9-year-old black kid. He's like, man, it sure is great to be able to go out and ride my bike. Yeah. I'm like, I love that for him. Yeah. Like, congrats, buddy. You should be able to go out and ride your bike anywhere in this country. You should be able to ride your bike and not have to worry about getting hit by a stray.
And what pisses me off is where the local and national media will not go. They don't go and talk to the little old grandma who has been in her house for the last 40 years. And when it gets dark, she buttons the house up, she locks all the doors, and she does not dare set foot outside until it gets light again because she lives in a place that is crime-ridden. Now that same grandma's saying the difference is night and day. Yeah. I feel like I can sit on my front porch and it be dark again because there's not so much crime. They don't talk to those people.
No, and to your point, there was a story out of D.C. with his family. This guy lives at a house with his wife and 3 kids, and when the sun goes down, they're in the basement. And they're in the basement because the street has drive-bys.
Yeah.
And they're down in the basement with a hot plate and cooking dinner down in the basement because if you're in the kitchen, you might catch a stray.
In your own kitchen.
And it's like, golly.
But Donald Trump's the bad guy.
Well,
yeah,
Donald Trump's the bad guy.
I know, it's
so
crazy.
stupid.
And here's the thing that I always said is how many black lives is Donald Trump saving? In Memphis?
Through Memphis, through the other community efforts, through the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, through his drug interdiction, the fentanyl efforts, the bombing of the drug boats.
Got all these people screaming Black Lives Matter,
Hundreds of thousands.
So all these people out there screaming Black Lives Matter, Donald Trump is probably, I would say Donald Trump has saved more black lives in the past, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it's been, through going into these towns with the National Guard. And nobody's giving him credit for that. They'll just instead call him a racist because that's the easy way to try to take him down. But I'll tell you, the black communities in Memphis and Washington, D.C., they love what the president's doing.
Well, and I think we love it in the state of Tennessee. And, and there's a question about if Freddie O'Connell and the local law enforcement agencies that are under his control, the Metro Nashville Police Department, if they don't do more, there have been calls. Ogles wants to bring the National Guard here. I don't believe that we're here yet. No. I don't believe that we're there yet, but I like the fact that is over their heads. Yep. Like, look, you have to perform because if you don't, there's someone watching you, and they'll come in and they'll take care of business if you can.
And I think Marsha Blackburn, if she ends up being the governor, I think she'll be a quicker trigger to bring in the National Guard than Governor Lee has. Because Governor Lee should have done it a long time ago. Governor Lee did it when Trump started going into Washington, D.C., and it became a national conversation. So I love that we're trying to make Memphis great again. Brent Taylor, the state senator from out there, he's been on our shows, probably your show too, and he's talking about it. He's highlighting.
Memphis, I don't know if you guys have been. Memphis, the bones of that city. Memphis was once as large as Nashville.
Yeah.
It was the go-to city in the state of Tennessee, and Democrats ruined it. Yeah. They absolutely ruined it. And they allowed the criminal element to take over, and so business opportunity left. FedEx stayed, but other than that, and that city has great bones, and it could be great again, you hope, if the right people are in charge. And if the citizens recognize, and this is my hope, that they've been fed a bill of goods for the last 40 years. These leftist politicians go, we're trying, we're doing the best we can, we're doing the best we can. Well, you know what? Clearly, they were not doing the best that they could. So maybe you represent a different voting pattern to get different and better results.
Yep.
Yeah, good luck.
I get it. I know you're.
I lived in Detroit, and I was down there with family, and I'm sitting in a room full of liberals. I'm like, so you guys won't even try voting the other way? Because it's been decades.
Give it a go.
Nothing's changed. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And they won't do it. They won't.
It's why I say that, Steve Cohen's got primary opposition by Justin Pearson. Just welcome the next congressman from the Memphis area, Justin Pearson, because there's no question that demographics dictate. Sadly, I hate it, but
do you think Pearson might
he will
win?
destroy Cohen.
Oh yeah,
because he's black.
Cohen's
He's a young
too
black
old
man.
and white.
Yeah.
He's too old.
He's
and white.
old and white.
Yeah.
And frankly,
this is what the Democrats did to themselves.
That's right.
They demonized white people. They demonized
right.
old people, and now the hens have come home to roost. You know,
you live by identity politics. You die by identity politics. And Steve Cohen never thought it would whiplash back on him, and he's about to see some of it.
oh, get ready. They're gonna. Justin is gonna put him eating chicken in an ad.
Oh, God. Chicken eating Steve
Remember
Cohen
that-
is what I
that
call
fried
it.
chicken?
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember.
I love Kentucky Fried. It is finger licking good.
Fast forward to September of 2025. I think we can all agree, probably the biggest story of the year, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then the following national response. It's been a little over 3 months since Charlie was assassinated. Your thoughts?
Well, when we started this, I said the best of times, the worst of times. This is the worst of times. Charlie Kirk, incredible voice. He helped Donald Trump a lot win the election, the younger vote. Incredible voice for Christianity and for conservatism. And I think that it is a huge loss. But I think that his voice has become even stronger and more relevant. There are a lot of people that I've spoken to that had no idea who Charlie Kirk was. Now they do. And so that's number one. Number two is the celebration over his death. I think we all would agree that that really exposed even further the evil underside of the left.
When I talk about Charlie Kirk, I have to remind myself at the beginning of any conversation that, because it all feels so academic, but that he was a follower of Jesus Christ and he's in heaven. It makes it easier for me to talk about when you recognize that. That doesn't make the pain any less great for his family and his circle of friends at Turning Point USA, the entire country and the entire world. But I think it offers some solace when you discuss this, because you recognize how heinous and disgusting and scummy some parts of our world have become, that they would allow very strongly held, I don't care how strongly held, political disagreements and political beliefs to descend into a celebration of someone getting assassinated in view of the entire world. And how you can allow your brain to be diseased to the point that that makes you happy, regardless of your politics, is a little bit beyond my comprehension. But then I flip it and I think, you know what? All right, those people exist. Evil exists in this world, and we recognize that. But what an insanely incredible difference Charlie Kirk was making in the world, that he would be targeted in this way. We would never want it to happen, but it's an identifier that we had a youth movement. And I will admit that until Charlie was assassinated, I knew that it was going on. I knew that the young people were the reason that Donald Trump was reelected as president of the United States, and I knew that Charlie had a place in that movement. I had no idea how strong it was until he was killed. And so it was an eye-opener for me that this youth movement was what it was. I hate the fact that in the 3+ months afterwards that there have been factions that have attempted to fracture that. Mm-hmm. And I hate nothing more. Well, I hate a lot of things more than this, but I hate when people suppose that they can speak for people who are no longer with us. I remember when I was a kid, people would say, well, if Martin Luther King Jr. were here, he would believe this. Or if Martin Luther King Jr. was there. And I even remember as like a 13 or 14 year old, well, he's not. But he's not here.
Yeah.
You can't possibly say
Right.
or know that. And there's so many people that are trying to tell us what Charlie would think or feel if he were here today. Well, he's not here today. And he's not here today because of diseased minds that were used by political operatives. And words matter. Words mean things. And if these same people had had their way, Donald Trump would be dead. Right? And it reminds you of the evil that exists in the world, and it reminds you that there are a lot of people that do not think for themselves, that allow them, they become lemmings to the evil nature of all of this.
I remember Jason Whitlock. So this is the weekend after Charlie had been assassinated. He was set to speak at World Outreach Church. So we were down there for the Culture and Christianity Conference, and I remember Whitlock saying on stage, he's like, if the left doesn't celebrate you when you die, you haven't done enough. You haven't been a big enough thorn in their side. So that stuck with me. And I also remember Charlie saying when conversations stop, violence starts. And he said that when he was on a campus, some leftist is berating him. Why are you even here? Because we have to have these conversations, because if we don't have them, that's when the violence starts. And Charlie was so good at those conversations that they couldn't win. And when you can't win, they resort to that violence.
Well, he has taught me in the aftermath of his death, as awful as it was, I think of him when I get into altercations with leftists and I allow my anger to take over, because it's a weakness in my style of what I do on radio that I just get so pissed at these people. I start yelling at them. And I am reminded that Charlie never yelled at them. Ever.
Never once
Ever.
that I've seen.
That I saw. I mean, and I'm
the
sure
videos, he would even put his mic down when they were asking the question. Right. It's just like a visual confirmation of
I'm receiving. I'm listening.
I'm listening.
And I try to remind myself to do more of that, because there's no good in engaging them in that angry space. And I do it. I'm guilty of it. I've done it all my, all my career, but I try to be better at it, because you're right. If we can't convince, and, in a group of 100 liberals, if I can pick one off and convince them to think a little bit differently through logic and calmness and just working through these things, then that's a win. That's a win, and you got to slowly erode that mind rot.
Well, and if you stay on social media, you'll see the libs get owned, and it's a big laugh, and we all have fun. And I think that there's an entertainment aspect to that. But I think at the end of the day, Charlie wasn't trying to roast the libs. He was trying to win them over. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a key difference. The memorial service was unbelievable. The response that we saw after it was unbelievable. We played it in the intro. Just everywhere. The vigils were nationwide.
And when you look at what the state of Tennessee is doing with their Turning Point chapters in schools, I think that Charlie's message is spreading now more, and I hate to say this because it may sound macabre or whatever, and this may come off wrong, but I think his message has spread more because of the way that he was killed and because of the way that his death was celebrated. I think it has even brought more attention to the positivity of his message, and that is leading to the spreading of his message.
Well, we might use the word martyr a little too much in life.
Yeah.
But he truly became a martyr to an injustice.
Yeah.
And the injustice was what was happening to American youth and what was happening to our country, generally speaking. But for Charlie, I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but you can speak better to it, Chris, but it was specifically how our youth are being served so poorly, if at all, by leftist policies and leftist government. And he became a martyr to that injustice. And if you think about those people that we think about, they become greater in their death. I mean, it's impossible to say, but I think we remember and we recall the life of Martin Luther King Jr. more so than perhaps we would had he not been assassinated. Nobody would wish it. Nobody would want it to happen. But we are reminded of the cause that he served more so because of that. And I think Charlie's legacy in world history is galvanized. I think it would have been otherwise. Who knows what he would have gone on to do?
I think he would have been president.
I mean, yeah.
I would have voted for him. The line that stands out to me is Mikey McCoy at the memorial service. He said, when a tyrant dies, his rule is over. When a martyr dies, his rule has just begun.
It's well said.
And I read the Bible, but I had never understood the power of martyrs and how they would bring people to the faith until I saw what happened to Charlie. And then it was like, oh, whoa, okay. I'm looking at the Bible through a completely different lens when you're reading about the martyrs.
Well, and none of us, obviously there's no, the obvious example is Jesus Christ, right? And, we're all men, and we none of us are to be compared to Jesus Christ, but that is the ultimate example of how if you attempt to stop something as large as that, you're only going to make it greater and stronger. And I think Turning Point USA can be greater and stronger as long as we don't allow certain, influences to get us off message. And that's why I've tried, I'm not a voice for Turning Point USA. I'm just trying to be a voice for reason. And that's why I go back and forth as to whether to block those pesky individuals out. Mm-hmm. Whether it's better just to ignore them and let them do their things in their own little corners of the internet, or to address them full on.
I mean, I've done the exact same thing, and especially, that I worked with them. I worked for Charlie, and I was there through the 2024 election. So it's like people will be like, "Chris, you're too close to this. You're too close. So you don't see what's going on." And I'll just be like, "Bro, his mom and dad turned him in. People had foresight of the attack. There are social media posts. He texted the boyfriend, DNA on the weapon. Like, so we're going full Egyptian planes."
It's if everything's a conspiracy theory, nothing's a conspiracy theory. And everything doesn't have to be a conspiracy. And, sadly, the internet has kind of exacerbated that problem that we've always had, that there are segments of society that want to believe that they know better. And sometimes they do. And I'm not suggesting that sometimes that they're not, big, powerful organizations that are trying to shield us from the truth. But sometimes that's just not the case.
See, I think there was a conspiracy. I think that a lot of the theories muddy the waters, and I think some of that might be done intentionally. I'm like, okay, you had all these different social media accounts tweeting foreknowledge of the attack. Then you have the messages to the boyfriend. You have the Utah armed queers, which he was in cahoots with. Why aren't we digging into that? Like, I feel like there's so much meat on that bone. Where's the investigation? I, too, am frustrated with the FBI on the investigation. Like, that's the other thing. Like, people be like, oh, you think the FBI is doing... It's like, no, I really don't. I think that it could be a lot more in-depth. There could be a lot more transparency.
I think if they look at how this guy was radicalized, how he became trained to hit that shot, and I think his dad was, if I remember correctly, wasn't his dad law enforcement, former law enforcement? Was
Some
he?
family member.
Yeah, something like that. But I think you look at how this guy was radicalized. I think you look at the groups that were involved. I think that's where you want to go. The fact that certain individuals are trying to get more acclaim, more followers, more financing because of Charlie's death, I think that is horrific. And I know you felt it. I know that I felt it whenever I start talking about that stuff. And people will call up and attack me and saying, you just don't know. And it's like, actually, yeah, I do know. And because I can look at this and I can look at it dispassionately, and I can tell who is being sincere and honest and legitimate in how they're talking about this, and who is bringing forward evidence. You just talked about 5 or 6 different pieces of evidence or evidence trail, and you got people on the internet who have really nothing but these
feelings,
vapid ideas.
And Charlie coming to them in dreams.
And feelings. Well, and we broadly have become an instant gratification society. And I think sometimes we want that. I mean, obviously, I think the FBI is, sadly, it's a corrupted organization. It's gotten better under Donald Trump. But, I'm on record as saying that you need to blow it up and rebuild it because it is irreparable. That said,
there's too much internal rot.
Yeah, there's so much inside that has gone on that has rotted it from the inside out, like you say, Chris. That said, the justice system is not designed to provide us the information on the front end, right? So some of this, a lot of this is going to come out as time moves on, as the criminal case against Tyler Robinson moves on. And it should come out that way. And people, sadly, are using that against the investigation by saying, why don't we know this now? Why don't we know this now? Well, these are answers that you may get down the road, but you're not owed these answers right now because you could potentially corrupt a criminal investigation that's trying to bring somebody to justice.
You don't want this guy.
You can taint a jury.
Yeah, you don't want this guy going free because all of the information was released and you tainted a potential jury.
Cameras in the courtroom in 2026. Is this going to be a bigger televised trial than the OJ trial?
Yes.
Or is the media landscape too different?
I don't know, Dan.
Here's why I say that.
And I'm asking you guys because when OJ happened, I'm 8 years old, right? And I remember my parents talking about it, but I don't remember what the nation felt.
I was sitting in a parking lot on the campus of West Georgia College, and I'm scanning my radio dial, and every radio station that I could find was airing the verdict being read live. Every single one of them. Country, AC, hip-hop, talk, every one of them. Every television station went with it nationally. I mean, people stopped watching. Soap operas lost all of their viewership.
Yeah.
Because people who had the ability to watch soap operas during the day were watching that trial.
Game shows, same thing.
I mean, it's going to be huge. There's no question. But the fracturing of how we consume information might prevent it from being that big.
Here's why I say is because of media today. You know, there's going to be clips all over the place. There's going to be more analysts that are going to be talking about this as well. The difference between what happened with Charlie Kirk and what happened with OJ is that there was a true, did OJ do it? I think that there was a lot of people that truly didn't know if OJ actually did it. This guy, Tyler Robinson.
Hot tip, he did. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, I agree. But Tyler Robinson, I think everybody knows that he did it. I think that everybody knows that he did it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think anybody with the question for me is, did other people, and you hit on it, did other people know, and did other people aid him, or did they know what was about to happen and choose not to do anything? I mean, that's the arena that I want to explore, and that's the frustration, is that we've not talked about that more. Instead, we're talking about
Egyptian planes.
We're talking about
and
Macron,
her penis.
And her penis. Yeah, I mean, and I do not care. I do not care.
You don't care about Macron's penis?
I do not.
She's got a mean left hook.
You better say
some nice things about that penis.
I did hear that she was at BJ Hot Chicken in Lebanon over the weekend. So.
Right there next to the In-N-Out?
Yeah. She maybe was showing off what God gave her.
Fast forward October 2025. The longest government shutdown in history kicks off. The battle between whose fault is it, Democrats or Republicans, wages on. The memes, the SNAP benefits, the viral videos of threats against Walmart greeters if they try to stop them. I mean, there was something for everybody in this story.
Don't take my handouts, otherwise I'm going to freak out, and I'm going to get on my cell phone and I'm going to do a TikTok video talking about how mad I am, right? How many things are wrong in this story? Oh, by the way, were either of you impacted by the government shutdown?
Not really.
No.
I'm reminded of
show content.
I'm reminded of those memes. I'm reminded of those memes when you're supposed to get this huge storm and the storm never comes, and somebody takes a picture of a plastic folding chair fell over. They were like, "Winter storm 2025, never forget."
Yeah.
It was like
when you're like randomly, you could sort of feel an earthquake way off in the distance, and it's like a pillow tips over and said, "We will rebuild."
Right. So I mean, I get it that people that work for the government were frustrated that our members of the military,
TSA,
and there were places where it impacted us, sure, but what that demonstrated to me is that we have way, way too many able-bodied people that can afford cell phones that are on Snap.
And it exploded because of COVID under Joe Biden.
Right.
So when you have so many people on SNAP benefits and they're celebrating it on TikTok and on Instagram, hey, look at my shopping basket. I got 2 big shopping baskets full of ho-hos and Twinkies and all of the crap you can eat.
The stuff that would make RFK blush.
And you've got these people celebrating that they are living off the government dole and the taxpayers, and then they're threatening and saying, if you take away my SNAP benefits, whatever, we're going to attack the Walmart employees or whatever it was. I think, number one, I think it's very fatiguing to see people in America living off of all of us who are working really hard when, as you said, these fat asses can get their ass to work, and they should. And
right.
I'm not talking about all SNAP
and I've said it for a long
benefits,
time. Absent mental or physical disability in
Right.
the United States of America, long-term poverty is a choice.
Yep.
And people don't want to hear it. But the dependency is real. And I want you guys to take that reaction to 30 or 40 days off of SNAP benefits and apply it to health care.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder why we can't figure out a free market solution to health care is because people have not only become dependent on government subsidy, they have come to expect it, demand it, and get damn angry if they don't get it.
And sell it. And my one of my big issues was the celebration. Like, look at what we're getting because you stupid people go to work. I mean, that's the celebration of, used to be, and we all talked about it, used to be you were sort of ashamed to be on the government dole.
Yep.
And
now, you should be.
And I agree. But now it's like hey, man, look what I'm doing. Look at my TikTok video and look at all this stuff that I'm getting for free.
And we've talked about it. It's become generational. So, like, that's where the shame goes away, right? Because, like, it used to be like, oh, my gosh, I can't do this to my wife, my kids. And it's like, but the kids have now been raised seeing it, and then now they're on it, and then their kids are now on it. And
the mothers just telling their kids, just grab the food and grab the cart, and we're just going to walk out. They're doing it with the kids in tow.
Well,
it's
and
horrifying.
not to get too philosophical on this point, but I've long said that we try to eliminate shame in our society when we should embrace shame in our society. If you are ashamed, that is your conscience telling you that something in your life is going wrong.
Yeah. The Holy Spirit.
And you need to address that. You need to look at it head on and say, okay, what is causing this? I understand people don't want to feel ashamed, but you need to address the root cause of it. What is causing this shame, and how can I overcome it in a positive way? Instead, we've told people for the better part of 20 years now, there's no shame in any of this. Well, for a lot of these able-bodied ones, there should be.
Yeah. And that's the point. There are people that genuinely need the benefits. And we all said that and acknowledged that. That being said, there's a lot of people who shouldn't be. And you go to Walmart, you go to Target, you go to wherever, there's always applications. There are always help wanted signs. And these people that are celebrating getting the SNAP benefits and all that, they should go to work. They won't until we make them go to work. And that's the whole point that Donald Trump and the Republicans have been making, is we need to make America go back to work, because if we've got the jobs, then they should be filling them.
I have long said that if I owned a brick and mortar business, it would be burned down, because if I owned a business that accepted food stamps, I would have a food stamp line. And if you're paying with food stamps, you have to be in that line. Every other person that's paying with their own money, they get to be in these lines. The food stamp line is over here. And the reason that I say in 2020, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious why my business would get burned down.
Yeah.
But the point is that, I mean, there should be you should separate the people that are hardworking and doing their job versus the people that are depending on the kindness of taxpaying citizens.
Yep.
To be fair, other businesses got burned down. Remember during Black Lives Matter said, this is a black-owned business. They said, we're burning it down.
That's exactly right.
True. No, I was told that by CNN that those were mostly peaceful protests.
We did hear that.
Oh, wait, mostly peaceful. Hey,
Imagine that.
Fast forward to November, the conversation moved to the fishermen and how they're out there. And this is the thing.
Just trying to earn a living, Chris.
They are efficient fishermen. We don't see this kind of efficiency in America, where you get the fish, you catch the fish, you cut everything off, you make sure it weighs 1 kilogram, you wrap it up in plastic, you put it down, and then you then go get another fish and you do the exact same thing until you got hundreds of these plastic-wrapped kilogram fishes in the boat. And our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, started blowing them out of the water.
Well, don't miss the most important part of that, is that then you've got to get those fish to market as swiftly as humanly possible.
It's true.
Why wouldn't you need these boats that go as fast as possible in the water to get that fresh fish to the people who need it?
Everybody knows how bad fish smells when it starts to go bad.
I mean, come on.
And you're not going to make a sale that way.
I love the fact that the liberals tried to make this a big deal, and it reminds me that there's still really good-minded people in the United States of America, because most of America, even some of our squishy moderates, went, play stupid games, get stupid prizes, whatever.
Exactly right.
Blow them up.
I love that we're taking them out of the water. I want us to kill as many of these guys as possible. Because
I said it during the campaign. I think I said it during Iran and Israel. If you're going to want me to be supportive of a war, this is the one. Let's go after narco-terrorists. And I don't want to stop at Venezuela. Like, the intelligence that we have and the technology that we have, why on earth is there a single drug manufacturing plant even operational today in South America?
I mean, can't we accidentally throw some drones over Colombia and just...
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't even know we were
simple.
coming.
Right. I mean, I'm all about that. I mean, those are secretive CIA ops that I can get behind, 100%. Now, to pour cold water on this, I mean, constitutionally, you got to be careful.
Yep.
You got to be careful.
Meh.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, be careful.
It's an illegitimate regime, so
you know. Yeah. I mean, I just want to be careful that we don't turn our military into what ought to be police activity here at home. And you know, there's some questions about all of that.
My thing is, it's and you know, you can make the argument that not a lot of fentanyl's coming from Venezuela. Okay, you know, it's more cocaine. Cool. But hundreds of thousands of Americans are dying from drug overdoses every year. And then zoom out, the crimes that are a result of addiction, assaults, burglary, murder, you know what I mean? Like, if we stopped the drug trade in its tracks by blowing them out of the water or out of the hillsides in South America, that's a net positive for the country. It's a net positive for our police. It's a net positive for how many resources we would save.
Well, and I would argue too that if we got rid of the pesky Fourth Amendment and we just raided some places without warrants, it would go a lot smoother. You know what I mean? So I mean, I understand your argument. I also understand the Constitution is there as a fail-safe against people who.
I guess it just, I don't know. This one hits me different, and you guys are a little bit older than I am. But my generation, the millennials, were rocked by opioids. I have so many friends that are dead, or we're currently mourning them because they're no longer the same person and we're waiting for that phone call. And I'm sick of it. Like, I am full on, let's go on offense. I mean, my best friend Dave, my best friend Neil, my best friend Matt. I mean, I could go down the line. And they made their choices. But with the fentanyl now being introduced, you're eliminating that opportunity for a second chance. There's no chance for redemption. And then you hear horror stories like the baby at the Airbnb in Florida who's just crawling on the floor and touches the little bit of fentanyl and is overdoses and dies, or the police officers. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we letting this continue to go on?
Well, go ahead.
It's such a global thing, right? So a lot of the ingredients made in China over to Mexico. Mexico will either manufacture it there, put it together there. Of course, they're sneaking it over the border. So Venezuela is, I agree with you on Venezuela, but it's such a small part of the overall drug trade that comes into America. If we're going to go after Venezuela this hard, then if I see one more president standing up there with Xi Jinping and talking about how, oh yeah, we're going to take care of the
partnership,
the drugs that are that have been coming over. We're going to take care of all that, and nothing ever happens. So you're right constitutionally, but we need to get badass on this stuff, and we need to stop it. And we also need to figure out a way here in America to help the people that are addicted. It's multi-pronged.
The Xi Jinping thing, though, is tightrope walking, right? Because as we learned during COVID, we don't make anything anymore. It's all over there. And if we went real hard against China and they cut us off, then what we got? A few weeks with our amoxicillin coming in before we're screwed.
Yeah, the tricky part about that, I like to say, go to your house and turn everything over. That's the tricky part about China. Because I guarantee you, 70% of the crap in our houses are made in China, right? Or, half. And so, you have to extract yourself out of that before you take the hard hand to China. On the drug front, though, and I get it. I understand. Fentanyl exists because of the opioid crisis. The opioid crisis exists because of the government, right? I have a good friend who decided to go back to buying black market weed because he had to show up every week for his chronic, severe back ailment, and they would count his pills. They would take out his pills and they would count his pills. There was an overreaction to the overprescription of opioids by the government that led to a black market that, I don't know about you guys, but 15 years ago, I don't think I'd ever heard the word fentanyl. I don't think it existed, right? But it exists today because the black market saw an opportunity to take over that market where opioids were. And so it's so you could look at it like it's the government cleaning up something that it kind of started to a certain degree, or you could look at it, well, you could be frustrated like I am and like, if you had done this right from the beginning, then maybe we wouldn't be where we are today. Yeah. That's where I'm at on that.
Still think we should blow them up.
I mean, I don't mind blowing them up. Like, this is the way I look at it. I do see the constitutional questions there, but as I tell my audience, in the laundry list of worries that Matt Murphy has, it is way, way down the list. every time I watch them blow it up, that's a lot of fun. It's like a little boop.
Venezuelan fishermen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's close with December of 2025. Easily the biggest story in Middle Tennessee was the grand opening of In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, baby.
Mm.
Bigger story than Ed the Zebra,
Much bigger.
I thought.
I was hoping that the biggest story would be the fact that I finally decided to buy a house in Middle Tennessee, but no, I was.
Nobody lined up for hours for that.
True that. Of the three of us, how many of us have had In-N-Out Burger? How many of us have had In-N-Out Burger in Tennessee? You went?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
did you go?
So this is what we did. Okay, so when we worked at Turning Point,
I expect this out of him, not out of you.
Okay, so it was such a
Being from California.
It was such a God thing. So when we worked at Turning Point, Charlie used to give us In-N-Out Fridays on the company. We could go to In-N-Out Burger. Where there's one right by headquarters at Turning Point, and we would do that every Friday. So it was last Friday. I had to drop off my car to get my windshield replaced, and my wife came to pick me up. And I had Josh on the show, who's a senior director for Turning Point. I had Riley Gaines on the show. The big Tennessee partnership with the Club America chapters happens, and we're like on a whim. We're driving home, and we're like, "You want to do it?" And she's like, "I got the babysitter for 3 more hours," and I said, "Perfect."
Might not be enough time.
Might not be enough time.
Yeah.
So we said perfect, and we pulled off the highway. We went to In-N-Out, and it was like we celebrated the Tennessee Turning Point chapter partnership with some In-N-Out Burger, and it felt like a God thing, and it was awesome.
You got to love In-N-Out, and I'm going to say that it is as good as it was on the West Coast.
They
because
flew in all their employees from the West Coast
to
train the locals.
The quality of the burger, the quality of the service, it is all really up there. Now, you've got some naysayers who are going to be, oh, this sucks. It's just another hamburger because they want to be contrarian.
Yeah, and they're wrong.
See, normally I would be that guy.
I know.
For some reason, I'm not that on this. I don't know,
really?
and I've not had it.
Okay.
When we went to Phoenix a year ago with all the kids, and we hadn't done that before. We did the Grand Canyon, we did all this stuff, but we took the kids to In-N-Out Burger, and they loved it, and it was awesome. So when we went to In-N-Out last Friday, this is the other thing that's great about In-N-Out. I got 2 double burgers, 6 single burgers, 2 fries, 2 drinks, $55. Show me another restaurant where I can do that here for an entire family. You're not going to be able to find one.
You can't.
So we get all these burgers. We pulled up to the house, and I'm getting out of the car, and my 8-year-old comes around the corner. He has not had it in like a year, right? And he sees that I have the In-N-Out bag and a box of burgers, and his reaction was worth its weight in gold. I wish I got it on video. He was like, "Oh,
yeah,
you got us In-N-Out? What? What is it? Animal style?" I said, "It's animal style." He's like, "Oh, let's go!" And I'm like, "My guy."
I anticipate eating it. I will keep an open mind. My burger control is Erica, my wife. She is a hamburger nut, and she loves going to local places and sampling local burgers and, ranking them. I mean, she's just a hamburger fiend. And so she's kind of my control person that will go with me.
Who is her favorite in Middle Tennessee? Does she have one?
She's a big fan of Dino's, which is a dive bar in East Nashville. We went to a place. Where was it that she had? I can't remember. You put me on the spot, Dan. But there was a place. I'll remember if I stop talking about. That was a recent local place that she went, and she said this is a solid burger. It was
text me after the show, and I'll put it in the captions.
Yeah, please, because I can't remember the place. But I'm keeping an open mind. But I have a difficult time believing, and this is where the contrarian in me comes out. The way that people talk about In-N-Out that have had In-N-Out, I have a difficult time believing that it could possibly be that good.
So the burgers are that good, and here's how I'm going to prove to you that I'm being honest. The fries are trash.
No, I believe that people honestly believe.
The fries are not trash.
The fries don't hold. Okay, unless you get them fresh out of the fryer,
which is most fries. Fair,
but if they sit there for any amount of time, they're garbage.
But you're getting them at In-N-Out, and if you're getting them through the drive-thru and driving home, yeah. But if you're eating at In-N-Out, in your car, in the restaurant. They're really good.
They die in the window very, very quickly.
I think your statement about In-N-Out fries being trash, I think it is irresponsible.
See, this is the cult coming out right here.
This is what we're talking about.
This is what we're dealing
This
with.
is
These are the 3 stages of In-N-Out
But this is
in the same room.
There's
the cult guy, guy that...
But the cultists make me
look bad.
Look bad.
Right. Because
Okay,
you're trying to be honest.
You bought 9 burgers. I bought one for me and one for my wife.
And
ask Matt Murphy how abnormally large my family is.
They are
It's
abnormally.
large. You
They're
got like 4
very
kids.
odd.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really is just. I think. I mean, well, at this point, it's like 2 extra than the average, right? I mean,
yeah,
I think,
we're past replacement. We knew one of them's going to be successful enough to take good care of us and not put us in.
The odds are forever in your favor.
Yes, exactly.
it's a better plan than I have. I got to be nice to my nieces and nephews. So I will report back to you boys on. I know you don't invite me on Mostly Peaceful very often, and I thank you for the invite. For the year in review, but I'll report back on the In-N-Out when we do.
Well, I thought we had a mandate. Oh, but Pete, you had a problem.
You invited everybody he invited everybody with him, and then he went by himself. Did you notice that?
I know.
Well,
I know.
Okay.
No, he said we're going to go together, and he made that up.
He invited you.
Right.
He invited Brian Wilson.
Right.
I think he invited Mason.
I thought it meant first visit in Tennessee, and then here's Mandis taking selfies of himself at it's a 1 hour wait from this point sign.
I went with my wife.
I was so upset. You know, he didn't.
I bet you promised her that she would be first.
You know where I found out that Dan went to In-N-Out Burger after we have built this friendship over years. You know how I find out?
My Twitter account.
Yes, he doesn't even have the integrity to text me that he went and below our date. But so I remember when I went, I said. I sent Dan a text. I'm not going to tell you where I am. You're going to have to check social media.
So I had to go to his Instagram account to find out where he was at Chris Hand on Air.
What is the least amount of time that I'm going to have to wait? How long? I mean,
It was 40 minutes from line to food.
That's not bad.
At Antioch.
Now, last weekend, Amy and I went. It was 3 hours in line.
So as we speak, are there
Drive-thru.
2 or 3 locations now open?
Murfreesboro, Antioch, Lebanon.
Yeah. That's
3.
3.
Oh, so they coordinate that. See, that's so brilliant.
Brilliant.
They coordinated it so they opened around the same time because they understood the draw, and
Yeah.
so that you need to have multiple.
I think it's going to be a while before you can, unless you get in there. Here's the deal, Murphy, is that the hours that you work, you can get there when they open, and
when do they open, Dan?
they open at. Well, I think they had expanded
They
hours.
open at 8.
No, they don't open at 8.
Mason,
what time do they open?
This guy in the window over here is like throwing up fingers, seeing if I'll take his.
All right, so
his suggestion.
You know what? He's going to have the In-N-Out, Spanish Inquisition at his house today. They're going to be in the robes and they're going to have the paddles because you don't know the answers to these very important cultish questions.
I think it's if it's
the
8
Crusades
o'clock,
are justified.
Uh-huh.
Predictions for 2026.
Matt Murphy will have In-N-Out at some point.
Ooh.
Yes, I think that is a fair prediction. I think that in 2026, for the first part of 2026, that conservatives and libertarians alike will still be complaining about a lack of transparency regarding Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think we're going to see what we think we're going to see. I think there's excuse making, and I'll make a prediction that I believe that this specific issue, fearless prediction, is why Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI in January. I believe specifically it's about the Epstein.
Is he going to go back to radio?
Yes.
Yeah.
He will go back to radio
Okay.
and then
So
we'll complain about how.
I did this on my show today, Inside Baseball, but this company had Dan Bongino. What do you think his deal was? Because they moved Dan out and they took Vince and and nothing against Vince. I don't know him, and I honestly haven't listened to much of his show. But they syndicated him everywhere, and all the Dan Bongino spots. Do they say to Vince, "We're sorry, we're giving this back to Dan," or does Dan go somewhere else, like an iHeart or an Odyssey?
In the press release, when Bongino went to the FBI, Westwood One, who's the company he works for, the syndicator, they said we would welcome him back anytime. So I think everybody knew that this was going to be a short-term deal, whether we're talking about a year or 3 when Trump would leave office, and then, of course, you have the turnover. So I think that they all knew that this was going to be a short-term 1 to 2 to 3 year deal. I think he fully expected to end up back on the radio. I think that Vince Colonnese will go back to doing his local show on WMAL. And I think that ultimately Bongino comes out of there a much richer man because he'll be writing books and he's going to have a lot of things to say on his radio show that he'll most certainly go back
Didn't
to.
have a lot of things to say as deputy director of the FBI.
I feel bad about Vince.
I kind of feel bad about it. My prediction is that the company will allow the local affiliates to make the decision. They'll probably still offer Vince, but then if they platform Dan again, I mean, I think most of the radio stations will.
The radio stations will take Bongino back.
Yeah.
Well, because the other
no
guy,
offense to Vince.
No offense to Vince,
but it's just a big name. It's name recognition.
Yeah, right.
You know, the iHeart guys are syndicating Hannity, so you got to compete against that, especially in some of these smaller markets. Bongino is.
Do you think Bongino,
Murphy's going to blow up in 2026? Everybody knows.
Do you think that Bongino, real quick, so we got to wrap this up, but do you think Bongino comes back with more or less credibility?
Less.
I think less.
The problem is what he's going to come back. I predict what he comes back to do is to expose the problems within the FBI. And so you're going to come back and have the same show that you had before you were a part of the FBI that you went there to solve. So you went there to solve a problem. You didn't solve anything. You seemed to play ball with all of the people that you were complaining about before you went there. And I'm maybe not as big a Bongino fan as some, but you sat on your radio show and said, I know where the books are. I know where the files are, and it will be exposed at day one. Guess what? So I think there's some excuse making on the other end.
There's a lot of big talk.
Carly,
Pam Bondi,
300 and change.
Yeah, Pam Bondi,
Right,
Cash Patel, they all did the same thing.
But
Big
I
talk.
mean, Dan Bongino fans are Dan Bongino fans, and I think they'll gravitate back to him. And I think he'll have a lot of reasons why he couldn't do anything about it over the course of the year, and I consider those excuses.
Yep.
Predictions for midterms? Do we gain seats?
No.
Do we take it in the shorts?
I mean, historically, and this is one of the laundry list of things that annoys me about the mainstream media. Historically, I mean, that it doesn't happen. It doesn't matter who the president is. The party in the White House loses seats. So the razor-thin majority dictates to me that you're going to have a Democrat majority in the House of Representatives.
We'll see what happens with all of the redistricting and the gerrymandering and all that. But I think I agree with Matt, is that we have, historically speaking, typically it goes the other way. And I think that, the Republicans, we have some squishy Republicans as well. And what happened, I thought, in Indiana, where the Republicans in Indiana refused to gerrymander that state, tells you that we still have a lot of Republicans who don't understand that we are at war.
Does the filibuster get nuked in 2026? Because to your point, I think we're at war. And if you're looking and staring down the barrel at a lame duck presidency and we're going to lose seats in midterms, what do we have to lose? Does that happen in 2026?
It does not, because there are too many stodgy old Republicans.
Agreed.
Disappointing.
Not saying that it shouldn't, just saying that it won't. I mean, it's, I understand that. I mean, but once you do that, you do it. I mean, I still say that my solution is the best solution, and that is that you should go back to pre-1975 filibuster rules, in that if you want to filibuster, you have to actually filibuster. And to break a filibuster, you only need 3/5 of members present in the body, not 3/5 of members elected. Right now,
you got to make it hard.
You can filibuster in Florida and Arizona and Washington State. I want you to have to sit there in the chamber and filibuster. And if you did that, I think you would see a lot more movement in the Senate.
And then the question is, all right, so let's say we don't, will the Democrats? And I say yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think they'll do anything by any means necessary to destroy this country.
That's exactly right.
So that's the issue that we're having. That's the problem, guys. That's the problem.
It's going to be a fun 2026, though, and I can't wait to continue to cover it.
I can't wait. We'll be doing this same show at the exact same time next year. So mark your calendars early. That was our year in review. We obviously didn't hit everything. What's the biggest event that we missed? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe at Matt Murphy Show, at Dan Mandis Show, at Chris Hand on Air. Thank you guys for watching and listening.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
pres-
Good evening. My name is Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk is my husband. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith.
And he died like a man. But on the third day, he rose unlike any mortal man.